Ever since man invented the wheel, he's wanted to see how fast he could go with it. For most, the idea of driving 200 miles per hour has been a fantasy. Well, thanks to Frank Hawley and his drag racing school, that dream has become a reality for those with the willingness to learn and the desire for the ultimate thrill. Funny cars. Fast, exciting, and the crowds love them. In just 1,320 feet, they reach speeds up to 260 miles per hour. What's it like to drive one? Well, Frank Hawley knows firsthand. At the age of 28, Frank has already won 2 world championships with his famous Chi-Town Hustler. And nowadays, he can provide an unforgettable ride to anyone with the dream of driving a funny car at the world's first and only drag racing school. So I took a trip to Gainesville, Florida to see what all the excitement was about.
Week after week, we see people coming out of the regular world down here in one of these funny cars, and the first time they run 180 or 190 miles per hour, they're just ecstatic. I mean, they can't believe the sheer thrill of driving from 0 to 190 miles per hour in 6 seconds.
Thank you, sir. Excellent deal.
Super.
It was great.
Thanks. Holy cavoli. Wow! And all this happens in just 3 days for a student to go from rookie to racer.
Well, gentlemen, welcome to the classroom at the drag racing school here at NHRA's Gainesville Raceway. We're going to spend a couple hours here studying some tapes, working through our course book, and then we'll be going back over to the garage area and putting you inside the funny cars and teaching you how to use the controls before we start driving them. What happens is you go out there and you drive these cars, and as you become more experienced, that 6 seconds can seem like 2 minutes. And you can deal with the situation in 3 or 4 or 5 seconds. And that's what you need to do when you're driving a race car.
No, I understand what you're saying when you say that you have to be thinking all the time in the car. It's very similar to going to the line of scrimmage in football, and that you have to be able to think, and the play is not exactly the way you'd planned it in the huddle.
Exactly. That's why we use that comparison, because I believe that you have to adapt just like you would on a football field and be able to react in a few hundredths of a second.
This flame has been richened a little bit with this tape, and it's about 1,200 degrees. That's about the temperature that you would have in a funny car fire.
Using a piece of conventional fire suit material, Frank showed me what could happen to the suit in the case of a serious car accident involving a fire. After only 15 seconds of exposure to the flame, I saw how the material almost instantly shrunk in size and became dangerously brittle. Additionally, I witnessed how the colored fire suits were even more hazardous. They quickly caught on fire and continued to burn by themselves.
It shrunk terrible. What we have here, so when you put is a combination. It's the inside layer on the fire driving suits you're going to be wearing. It's a combination of PBI and Kevlar. The Kevlar that's blended into this made this so tough that when they first got this material, they had to get rotary saws to cut this to make the suits. If you want to time this again, we're going to go about 90 seconds. I mean, I could leave it on there for a long time. Nothing happens to it.
I definitely want to get one of those.
Yeah.
It's a minute and a half right there.
Okay, so that's 90 seconds. Put your hand on that. It's hot.
Yeah,
but it's no big deal, is it?
No.
It's uncomfortable is what it is right now.
Yeah, but I mean, it definitely wouldn't burn you.
So we're going to get you in the driving suit now because things feel a lot different when you got that suit on. So let's get the suit on you and we'll get you in the race car. Okay?
Frank gave me a thorough explanation to help mesh my knowledge of top fuelers with his specialty, the funny car.
To back the car up smoothly, to pull forward and that, you'll want to maybe bring the motor up, leave it at a certain RPM, just to kind of a fast idle, and then use that pedal coming back to regulate your speed rather than off and on the brake all the time. It's a much smoother deal. Put your hand over on the brake. You just kind of get your hand over there and beat it forward. Is that back too far now? Do we need to move it, or can if you feel comfortable in there, you can go ahead, unbuckle yourself, hop out, and we'll take it outside and start the motor. First thing I want you to do is take a peek at that oil pressure gauge when it starts. If it's around, 100 pounds, give me a nod. Ease up off the brake first and then use the clutch pedal. Wheels rotating. Bring the idle of that engine up a little bit, nice and smooth, up, a little bit more, hold it, back down.
We went over this process a number of times until it felt like second nature, and I was ready to move on. One of the most critical lessons for driving funny cars is learning to do burnouts. Frank gave me some tips on how to get the best results.
Do a burnout, one of these short cars, the main thing is the steering, and that's what's going to be so difficult. Dragster, you can do a burnout with one hand on the steering wheel if you want. Funny car, we're going to let go of the brake, we're going to put both hands on the steering wheel, and we're going to do the burnout with two hands on the steering wheel.
My car was brought to the starting line, and once again I find myself thinking about the next 6 seconds. Another quick run through from Frank, and I'm ready to go.
Put your hand up behind it.
Through my own experience in drag racing, I know that burnouts are one of the biggest crowd pleasers with the tires smoking down the track. But they serve a very important function in heating up the tires as well as making the track hot and sticky in order to give better traction off the starting line.
Besides the technical knowledge of these cars, what else do most of your students walk away learning?
I think that they leave here feeling that drag racing is much more involved, much more technical, and much more difficult than they had previously thought. And also they learn a respect for the machinery and a procedure that you must go through in order to drive these cars safely.
Although my heart belongs to Top Fuel dragsters, I found a new respect and genuine enjoyment behind the wheel of a funny car. And I couldn't wait to finally experience my first full run down the track.
Great.
How'd it look, okay?
Super. Super.
I think I might be hooked.
I think you might be a funny car driver. How about that?
I've driven Top Fuelers, but this is a rush. Were the shifts to your liking?
Oh, everything was my liking. Outstanding.
Thank you, sir.
Super job.
I figured doing about...
From the sky, satellite